station crew. Enjoy your stay.
Alright, welcome back to another round of Space Station 14. This will be another round taking place on Wizard's Den's Lizard server, and we'll be just doing some engineering. Some basic, normal engineering. Obviously, as usual, I'm gonna skip on the power setup. You're just gonna get to see me do some advanced inventory management. I like nowadays to carry around a winter coat, so I don't always have on my engineering suit. Mostly because it's not always needed for minor repairs and stuff, and you get to move around faster. Anyway, um, we did all the solars, the normal stuff. I look around for a smuggler's stash, and I find one. Luckily enough. Boop. And what do we get for this amazing discovery? An empty, an empty bag. Anyway, I like engineering often when this kind of round happens, where you're basically like an advanced janitor, always coming at the scenes of horrible events, but after the fact, just cleaning up the damage. Anyway, our first important repair we're going to be doing, apart from just setting up power, is also use some lag. It will be gone later on. Is that the engineering substation always has some kind of problem. I never got to around to diagnosing what is causing the problem specifically. I just know an easy solution. An easy, not hard to do solution is to just take the substation that you see over here and move it next to the power wires that connect to the rest of the battery array, just over here. Simple, easy. There's already the wires, so all you need to do is unanchor it and re-anchor it. Boom. Fixed. So that was easy, but could have been really bad. Also, people have been saying that they've heard Zeds, zombies, but there's no sign of any of that happening. Anyway, we head back. Everything's clear. So, we move on to the next scene of damage. It's the med bay. The CMO was in engineering earlier, asking for help with renovating the med bay, something people often do. So I gave him a toolbox, and together we're renovating. It's nothing too complicated. I mostly skipped to the end. The interesting fact is that we get an interesting reward for our efforts. The MedTech app, an amazing idea, can be used for many situations to know our damages and stuff, to heal people, to help out. And it's a nice payment for our efforts. It's not actually money or resources, but it is useful. So now our PDA can scan our health and see how many rads we have. Anyway, we head back. As we head back, we hear many calls about meteors and spacing. So I grab my suit, grab some materials. I already sealed up the areas so we can get some time to gather some resources and materials. I just used an RC to make a fire lock. I pick up a toolbox so I can go and mine out the meteors because they were diamond meteors. Which means it's big money, or resources, whichever ones. It's big money if it's sold, it's good resources if given to science. Anyway, we don't actually manage to repair the solar array. It's gone. It needs a new everything. I make sure the wiring is fixed, and I seal up the area so nobody else spreads the spacing further, as you see me do right now. Since I seal the area off with the fire lock, I take my time and don't use the RCD to redo every single small repair. Usually the RCD is for quick emergency repairs, and while this is, it does need to be repaired, and we can take our time. As you see over on the radio channel, the dorms botany, which is a little, there's like a little side room with a bunch of plants in the dorms, exposed to space, is spaced. All the northern bits of the station got hit by meteors pretty bad, so it's not surprising. Anyway, I drop off my diamonds at cargo and order some compressed matter since we are all doing repairs, so we're probably going to be needing some RCD fuel. And also I take the time to repair the power. Anyway, we now head to the next site of repairs. This here, the botany place. Now this time the meteors are made of gold, so we take our time to mine. Because I have my inventory pretty full, I'm gonna have to do a couple of trips. And while this was happening, the AI core lost power, and that's where the telecoms were. So somebody takes the occasion to tell on the radio that cargo was bombed. Since telecoms were down, nobody told us that. So we head over to cargo. I try to make sure that to not spread the spacing further since Atmos has been having issues. Right now I scan the vent. It's a good way to quickly see how distro is doing, how much air there's in the pipes. There was 40 kPa, which is not a lot. So it's going to be hard for repressurizing places. Meaning we have to minimize the spacing to avoid losing all the air. I can't really talk with Atmos right now because the radios are down. And here's the site of the damage. Looks to me like a syndicate bomb. Big damage, cargo is pretty much entirely gone. At least the front desk and all of its computers, the important buy computers I think, are all gone. Unless the quartermaster had the replacement boards. Actually they're on the floor right over there. I'm not using the RCD because it's not exactly... we're gonna be using all of the RCD if we use it to repair this. And we have some resources so we can try and save our fuel for later. My criteria for using the RCD is quick and emergency repairs. So this is obviously emergency, but it's not quick. So if we're gonna take our time, might as well take our time and save up on resources. And now that cargo's gone, we probably won't be getting any more compressed matter either. Anyway, somebody turns on the AME, meaning I think they've also moved the substation I moved. Meaning that in a couple of... one of the AMEs stops having power. It's going to take about 10 minutes for the substation to empty out again, and the engineer will be having power issues. And also because the low pressure in the pipes, I think that Atmos has forgotten to max out their pumps. Basically, if you max out the pumps in the vents all the way up to 4,500 kilopascal, which is the pressure unit, measuring unit, kPa, 4,500, it'll be a big buffer before all the station loses all air. But also, it has risks. But it's usually better to have a buffer and have the station have air than have low air and lose the air on all the station. Anyway, a lot of people are trying to help rebuild cargo because obviously everybody can benefit from cargo being up and running again. When I keep trying to see how the air is doing, it's a bit better now. 100 kPa is better than 40. It can be, it can be helped to... It can be helped, we won't run out. However, I still want Atmos to max out the pumps, and what I mean by max out the pumps is press the max button and press the on button. Anyway, as we leave cargo, trying to investigate how Atmos is doing, or get materials or something, I'm not sure exactly what I'm doing. We get caught that there's new keys in cargos. Cargo janitor, the same corner. And as I come back here, I see that there's power issues again, because the substation was moved again. I can't blame the people who thought that the substation was causing trouble for not being there or something. Anyway, Atmos asked us to max out the pumps. I don't specify what I mean, because I'm too busy with the substation issues. It could potentially cause a Tesla lose, or a single lose, potentially, if all the emitters lose power and the containment field fails. But I'm not sure it's going to be the case, since I think there's another substation for those fields specifically. Anyway, I re-anchor it somewhere else. And I warn engineering not to move this substation. Anyway, I try and carry some bodies from the cargo massacres. When there's a power sink detected. Now, we weren't having power issues, we were doing plenty of power. Also, the dog is barking. Give me a moment. So because there's a power sink and we're doing plenty of power, it means it's going to be charging up real fast. So I say turn off the TEG, the thermoelectric generator. If it's doing a lot of power, like at 1 megawatt or 2 megawatt, it's going to be feeding the power sink a lot. Also, as you can see, evac is spaced, so that's going to be bad. And I think I see the site of where the power sink was. It seems that the power sink was in salvage for some reason. I'm not sure why. Why blow up cargo and salvage? What are you doing? It was already out. Anyway, I'm not gonna go back there to repair. The emergency shuttle is called, so I'm not gonna be spreading all my thin resources trying to repair a department when we're gonna be evacuating in 10 minutes. What I am going to do is try and fix the Atmos issues. Anyway, I go to evac to repair it, since we're going to be needing air to evacuate properly. This time I'll not skip the repairs entirely. I use the RCD, but then I think better of it. I have glass and steel in my inventory, so I can craft reinforced steel. I've been using the favorites in the construction menu a bit to help with these repairs. It's not exactly easy to use, since it resets every single time a round restarts. So either you have to spend a round every single time setting up your favorites, or you just don't. Anyway, as you can see, I use the last of my glass to try and quickly repair evac. But I just realized now I ran out of glass. So, time to use the RCD. I don't use full glasses. I use directional glass. It's gonna block the airways. The only time this is gonna be an issue is when evac actually gets called. But during these times, people might be too busy evacing to break the glasses or something. Anyway, I make a mistake. I don't fill out this empty grill. As you can see on the two white airlocks. One of them has space tile. But that's neither here nor there. Anyway, I moved the little shuttle here so it doesn't block evacuation, because it'd be sad to repair evac only for evac to be called somewhere else because something was blocking it. I was trying to find some way for me to move and steal some steel. Atmos says that the air vents are overpressured. At this point, I don't believe in Atmos competence. If the air vents are overpressured, it would mean that the station would be regaining pressure, hopefully. We make our way back. And power cuts. Wonder why. Somebody asked me what the plan is. They're pretty much in zombie survival mode. I haven't seen a single zombie or a single nuclear operative, so I don't really know what's going on. I'm too busy repairing everything. Anyway, first order of business, figure out why power just cut. So we just take out our T-ray scanner and go in maintenance. Anyway, Atmos asked me if 36 kPa is overpressure. Not sure if it's sarcastic or whatever. Too busy right now. I keep following the yellow wires to the newest substation. And here it is. For a second there, the door was powered until that too loses power, and boom! Meteors hit the substation, and it took a while, but after a bit of time, all these little APCs you see over there lost their stored power. So only now do we realize the damage. So we have to free the substation because I don't have the time to go and make another one. And evac losing power means it'll make evacuation slower and harder to do, and in the dark too. So we just move it a bit over high voltage and medium voltage wires. Boom, fixed. Don't have time to seal the leak. We have to go and figure out what's the problem with the Atmos. Is pressure holding? And I see that it's been a long time, and the pipes are losing literally all pressure all the time. So I go and investigate personally what's happening over at Atmos. First order of business, break in. I've also been trying to see if there really are zombies, because I've been traveling all over the station, not seeing anything ever. So we make our way to atmospherics. I'm not very familiar with atmospherics because I don't play here there often, but I know enough to know the basics on how to get air in. So we see that the distro pipe was off, and it wasn't maxed out. So there it is. That's the issue. I honestly, I've never ever seen overpressure being an issue. It will take an atmospherics technician that's skilled enough to know that that's a possibility, to put an air alarm to fill, or like a passive vents or something. But well, then what? Then you just evacuate the zone and just seal off the vent or something. It's too easy to counter, not enough damage. I asked security if they've seen zombies. Apparently they've seen some. I got no clue. I'm trying to repressurize the zone, but it's losing all of its... Because of that one space tile near the evacuation shuttle, it's losing all the air constantly. So instead, we just make our way to Central Command. And I make my custom drink at the bar. It's one I invented myself. Well, It's just one I mix myself. It's not a special... It doesn't have any special properties or anything. First, I hack the machine to get access. Second, get a shaker so we can mix our drinks. And the drink is equal parts space soda, space cola, and space up. The triple spacer. And shaken, of course. For the extra funnies. Doesn't do anything. It doesn't do anything special, but it is my own blend. Anyway, we'll be spending some time serving the people here. All in all, it was an alright shift. We did our best with what we had. Even with the atmospherics issues, it took until a giant bombing and the end of the round for it to become a major problem. At the very least, we didn't lose atmospherics 30 minutes in. Anyway, hopefully you enjoyed this. It's not exactly a regular round. It was more stressful and intense than usual, but it was not out of the norms by any means. Anyway, see you guys next time. Okay, bye, okay, bye, okay, bye, okay, bye, okay, bye, okay, bye. Also, drink some sodas. Okay, bye, 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 bye. Boop.